What's up, everybody? I am joined by my friend Anthony, aka LCFC Boya, and today we're gonna have a chat around the transfer window. We're gonna look at this from a broad perspective, not just a Liverpool or a Leicester perspective. Anthony, my friend, how the hell are you?
I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm really good, especially around transfer window. I think we've done some solid business so far, so everything's looking up.
Oh yeah, I often look at other clubs and wonder what it's like to sign a player. It hasn't really happened. Although we did get Seth Vandenberg, to be fair, but nothing big for Liverpool so far. I suppose we might as well start from a Leicester perspective. And I know you want to talk about the exciting stuff, mate, about the incomings, but I can't let this go without having a little chat around Harry Maguire. What's the latest at your end on him?
The valuation hasn't been met according to Brendan Rodgers, and it's not close to being met. So if it doesn't get met, he'll be a Leicester player next year. If it does, he'll be at United. So it's that simple, really. And we know they've got money, so we are genuinely in a win-win situation. We either get to keep a great centre back, or United have to pay over the going rate for him.
And the asking price is around 85 million, is that right?
85 to 90 million, I believe.
That is very satisfying to hear from a Liverpool perspective here, and the thoughts of United possibly having to go and pay that for, look, a very good Premier League proven defender. I'm not going to be little Harry Maguire in that sense, but he's not Virgil van Dijk. So to go and spend that much, I don't know, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but at the same time, if Van Dijk didn't leave Southampton in the same circumstances he did, you probably would have had to pay even more.
I don't know. I think the other way. I think we could have got him for about 15 million cheaper. I think we paid what I like to call a stupid bastard tax to Southampton for kind of getting our fingers caught in the cookie jar.
Potentially, it's with the stuff. I don't know if he did actually go on strike, but I remember him threatening to. So obviously, if he goes on strike and stuff, then that knocks down his value. But Maguire's staying professional. He played on Tuesday against Scunthorpe. And Brendan Rodgers has said that he's staying very professional and very focused on Leicester at the moment.
And on incomings at Leicester, mate, how's the transfer window been for you so far? Who's come in? I'm not going to even pretend to know all the incomings.
Yuri Tielemans, absolutely buzzing that one's got done. I was
Really
worried that
like
United.
him. I really like him as a footballer.
Yeah, I was worried that United were going to get Yuri Tielemans, but we've managed to secure him, and I think it's 35 million as well for him. I think that's a great fee. Got Iosi Perez coming in. I think he's going to be. I don't know how good Iosi Perez can be because he's only ever scored, I think, the maximum of 12 goals in the Premier League. But he's always been under such defensive managers, like Rafa and stuff, which Rafa had to be at Newcastle. That's not like a dig at him. It's just sort of the way that he had to set up with Newcastle. So I'm expecting under Brendan Rodgers to see sort of him improve and kick on with those attacking numbers.
He's a player that's full of energy, and I do think he will be a player that will complement Jamie Vardy, or even perhaps sub in for Jamie Vardy quite well. And I can understand. I would call him a Brendan Rodgers type signing, so I can absolutely see the appeal there from an attacking perspective, because he's a bundle of energy, but he is, as you said, he is a little bit unproven. Is that fair to say?
He's been in the Premier League for a long time, but it's always been defensive, and it's never seemed to have been attacking football. So I saw him play on Tuesday night against Scunthorpe, and I don't want to sort of hype up a performance too much against a League Two team, but he did look very good then. But I think it's going to be one of those that, like, we're going to have to give him time and just see how he gets on this season.
Oh, you feel free to hype it up as much as you want, mate. Everton beat a bunch of Austrian mechanics or something, 37-0 or something like that one season, and you'd swear that they were going to go in there and win the Champions League the following year.
That's typically Everton, isn't it, though?
It really is, yeah. I think that might have been... Was that the same year that Richard Keys came out and said that he fancied Everton to finish above Liverpool? It might have been. I don't know, but either way, it was ridiculous. Any more incomings or any more potential incomings?
So we signed James Justin as well from Luton Town. He's a young left back who can play right back as well. He was in the League One team of the season last year. He looks very promising, but he's only going to be back up to Chilwell and Pereira this season, in my opinion. But he's exactly what we needed. We needed some cover with Danny Simpson leaving, Fuchs in the last year of his deal, and probably moving at the end of this season. So I think he's exactly what we needed, and hopefully he can go on to be a good player for us. And what makes me sort of confident about him is the fact that all the Luton fans were sad to see him go, which is always a good sign when the other club don't want to lose a player.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally understand. As you said, League One Team of the Year. I always do look out for Luton's results. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of the Shabby Alonso goal that we scored against them in an FA Cup game all those years ago. But I've always had a soft spot for Luton. I think a couple of things maybe. I think they were one of the first or last clubs that still had a plastic pitch before they had to change. Yeah, I don't know why. As I said, I just have this soft spot for Luton. Moving ahead and looking towards the top end of the table. No, sorry, that sounds very harsh, doesn't it? Like I'm trying to say that Leicester won't be anywhere near the top end of the table. It was more in my own head, Anthony. Sorry, I was just trying to work backwards from. I'm going to say Liverpool, but we'll look at Liverpool for a second or two from an outsider's perspective. Obviously, you've seen that we've just brought in Sepp van den Berg. Probably Harvey Elliott as well, that young kid from Fulham. Look like he's going to sign on what would have to be schoolboy terms because he's not yet old enough to sign a pro contract. From an outsider's perspective, give me two scenarios here. What do you think will happen if Liverpool don't sign an attacking player, and how do you think we're looking as things stand?
So if you don't sign an attacking player, I think you're going to have a very similar season in terms of the league of last year, because your starting 11 can compete with anyone, as we saw in the Champions League and in the league, but you fell short because I don't think you've got sort of behind your front three. I don't think you've got sort of the quality in depth. There's a huge step down. Like as clutch as Origi came at times last year for you, I don't think he's sort of. I feel like you need a bit more quality off your bench than Origi and Shaqiri.
Yeah, no, I absolutely get that point. Don't forget young Ryan Brewster as well, a very, very exciting young man coming through. I get exactly where you're coming from. Look, I'm going to be honest, I don't really rate Shaqiri that highly. I think he was a decent purchase, a decent roll of the dice at 13.5 million. I never expected him to set the world on fire. And to be quite honest, I thought when we signed him, at the time we were going to go ahead and sign Fekir as well, and that didn't work out. So for me, you're saying pretty much in your echo and the sentiments of most Liverpool fans, I'd like to see us go and add another attacking player of the quality of, let's say, Coutinho, Dembele, Fekir. It depends on what way we want. I would say Timo Werner, but I don't think we need an out-and-out number 9. But yeah, I get you. I get you, mate. It is. It's difficult because we want to look at what we did last year and we see what Jurgen Klopp achieved with that group, and he will continue to progress them. We've got quite a young squad and coaching will develop them, but it's very hard when you see a club like, we'll move on to Manchester City now, for instance, going out there and signing Rodri and then potentially being linked to a centre back as well. So what do you think of the business done by Manchester City in this window?
Well, it's not just Rodri that they've signed, it's that Angelo, who used to be their player and then they've brought back. I think they've identified where their weak points are and they've got their business done very early. Potentially there could be a centre-back coming in for them, but they are looking incredibly strong and incredibly strong in depth as well.
Yeah, it is frightening when you look at their squad. I've got to be honest about it. I mean, when I heard Leroy Sané potentially being linked with a move away, I'm not going to lie, I was praying that it happened, because that guy, when he was coming off the bench last season, I remember watching the Manchester Derby, and I think when he came on, I think City were 1-0 up, but you could see United's faces, legs were starting to tire and they just shit themselves at the thoughts of this kid coming off the bench. And then you still have Gabriel Jesus there, Riyad Mahrez, of course, you know very well. It is a very strong squad, and it's only gotten stronger now that they've added Rodri in there as backup to Fernandinho.
Yeah, and I think whilst it's just going to carry on like this, every year they're just going to bring in a couple of players to strengthen where they weaken, and I can't see their dominance sort of going away, which I don't like, because I love the fact that the Premier League should be sort of, not anyone can win it, but do you know what I mean? Always so competitive. I don't want it to become sort of a one team league, but it is at a risk of doing that.
It's alright, mate. We're going to win it this year. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Liverpool are going to do the decent thing this year and go and win the league and, fight the good fight, as I like to say from a Liverpool perspective. We're not allowed to say as Liverpool fans, this will be our year, by the way. That phrase, you're not allowed to mutter that as a Liverpool fan. Look at the top four and what else have we got in there? So Spurs obviously went and signed in Dombele, which is a very good piece of business. They could be losing a couple of players. Alderweireld has that clause in his contract, that 25 million clause, and I'd seen him linked with a move away. I can't for the life of me now remember who it was to. And then Christian Eriksen, another player with a big question mark over his head, 1 year left on his contract. Apparently he's turned down offers from Manchester United. What do you think about Spurs?
I think with Spurs, obviously, as you say, and Dembele, very good signing. But with Ericsson, I can't see him not being sold. Daniel Levy's not going to let him walk away for a free. I just can't see that happening. And then Alderweireld, if he goes, is it the biggest loss in the world when he is, will he be 32 now? So they'll have to replace him, but he's not going to have much time left anyway, sort of at the top level. So it could be a lot worse for them. So I think they're still in a very decent position if they do lose those two players.
I had seen Alderweireld linked with a move somewhere, and I cannot for the life of me think of where it was. And I still wonder if the Maguire thing doesn't come off for United, because they've been strongly linked to Alderweireld for a couple of seasons, if they might just go back in there as a last minute replacement. And I absolutely also agree with you on Christian Eriksen. Daniel Levy is one of the shrewdest businessmen in the league, and he ain't letting somebody like that walk away on a free next year.
No, and as well, what you're saying about Alderweireld, that would just be the most United signing, wouldn't it, to buy a 32-year-old and put him on big money, and then
Yeah, stick him on 280 grand a week or something.
I don't think it would just be such a short. It would be such a short-term sort of solution for them, and I kind of hope they do it because I think after one season they'll be done, and I think they'll have another poor player on their hands.
And then if we move on to Chelsea, obviously they got Kovacic over the line because of the agreement or the loan deal that was already in place there. They brought in Christian Pulisic. That deal was agreed last year. Kind of makes you think that they kind of knew something might be coming there down the line with a transfer ban. Frank Lampard in as manager as well. They've lost Eden Hazard. What are your thoughts on Chelsea's season ahead and their transfer business, albeit as limited as it was?
It's a difficult one to say anything about Chelsea because, as you say, they've brought in Kovacic and got a new manager in terms of Lampard. But it's going to be very hard for them with no Hazard, and they're going to be going into the season sort of a little bit unknown, having to play quite a few sort of youngsters and some of their players that they've had out on loan. So they'll definitely be an interesting team to watch, but they'll be unknown. And they do have some very promising youngsters like Callum Hudson-Odoi and Mason Mount. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but I'm not massively convinced by Lampard being the right man for them.
Do you think it might just be a case of, okay, we've got this transfer ban, let's bring in somebody that the fans can't really turn on quickly, and that the fact that they have that ban might play into both Frank Lampard and Chelsea's hands in the short term anyway?
Yeah, it could do. And to be honest, I think even if they didn't have this transfer ban, with losing Eden Hazard, they were going to struggle this year.
Yeah, look, I've said that Hazard's been overhyped and that as well, but I've also seen Hazard turn up at Anfield and put in one of the best away performances I've seen and knock us out of the cup with 2 goals out of nowhere. So, well, yeah, one of them absolute magic as well. So I get where you're coming from with Hazard, but I think in the long term, removing player power from Chelsea, and Hazard was one of kind of the last of that ilk of players at Chelsea that seem to have a little bit too much power around the club for my liking. So it's going to be interesting there to see what does happen with Chelsea. In the show we did beforehand, we seem to just think that they may be pipped for 4th spot by Manchester United. So yeah, I'm very interested to see. Any other business in the league, mate? Arsenal we can talk about as well, but there's not really much happening there because they've got no money, have they?
No, West Ham have brought in Haller, haven't they? The striker from Frankfurt, which I think looks like a decent striker after losing Arnautovic. But apart from that, I can't really think of anything that's too much that's gone on.
Yeah, they did try and get Maxi Gomez, didn't they, from Celta Vigo, and that was a weird one because originally themselves and Valencia had a fee agreed at something around 34 million. Then all of a sudden Celta Vigo said, no, we want the full buyout clause, which was I think around 50. And then something else was agreed, and then it fell through again. And then they went out and got this other guy who, seems to be exciting neutrals more than the Maxi Gomez deal would have. And we'd been linked with Maxi Gomez at one point as well. A young Uruguayan striker that had pretty decent spell at Celta Vigo. So I always find West Ham intriguing in transfer windows because you never quite know what's going to happen with them.
Yeah, with Haller as well. From what I've seen, a couple of West Ham fans saying they're worried that he's coming in sort of with 1 year and using him as a bit of a stepping stone. But if he does a job for them, I wouldn't be complaining too much if I was them.
Yeah, that is true. Obviously, Jovic was another player. Frankfurt had a fantastic season. He went on to Real Madrid as well. I'm just trying to quickly think through the league to see if there's much other business. As well as outgoings. Are we expecting any major outgoings? I mean, let's have a chat about Paul Pogba maybe for a minute. What do you think might happen there? Do you think he'll be a United player to start the next season?
I'm really unsure about Paul Pogba. The fact he said that how did he phrase it? That he wants new challenges. Surely you can't hold on to a player who just flat out doesn't want to be there. And with like the new Man United under Ollie or whatever they're trying to call it, they should surely be trying to sort of build players and build a good team spirit and stuff, and have players who want to play for United and who will put in the hard work. If he doesn't want to be there, I think they should just sell him.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of trying to find the club that can come up with the type of money United want. I've seen figures ranging from 150 to 180 million being mentioned for Pogba, and quite frankly, has he increased his value that much at United? I don't see anybody stepping up and paying that much for him, mate. You?
I don't think he's increased his value, but at the same time, the market's inflated since he's moved to United. So I can see why United want that much, and they're not in a bad position in terms of him on a long contract and stuff. So I can see why that number's there, but I don't think he's worth it.
Two more big transfers. One of them has happened. One of them may happen. The one that has happened is Antoine Griezmann. Although I say it has happened, there is a bit of an argument going on there, mate.
Yeah, that's the thing with the release clause, isn't it? The 200 million release clause, or is it 120 million, whatever it is. But yeah, I think Griezmann's a great player. I just dislike him, just like his attitude off the pitch.
Oh yeah, I'm not a fan of Antoine Griezmann either. When he was playing at Atletico, when he was a bit younger, I did look at him, and I did look at who was the guy that was with him there as well. The other French guy, a striker who moved on. I can't quite think of his name at the minute. I looked at the two of them and I thought really hard working forwards, very difficult to deal with. Griezmann just hasn't for me fulfilled his potential, and I know he's got a lot of fans around the world, and I'm not saying that he's not a good striker or a good forward, because he is, but again, 28 years of age, moving to Barcelona. For me, at Barcelona's perspective, I don't see this as good business, and I also think Atletico seem to have a point with this release clause thing that you're talking about. The clause was €200 million, I believe, that dropped down to 120 million on X date in July. I can't remember what it was. And as soon as that day came, Barcelona went into the La Liga offices, deposited the money, paid for the player, and then Atletico were saying, no, hang on a minute. Antoine Griezmann basically announced he was leaving last month, and I think they have a point, mate.
Yeah, he came out and saying that he wouldn't be at Atletico the next season. If I was Atletico, I'd be fuming with it and demanding the 200 million. So I can completely understand why they're going in for the extra money. And to be honest, Griezmann, even if he was leaving, he should have kept his mouth shut until it was until it was done, to be honest.
There was a few misperceptions, is that the word I'm trying to say, around his number. A lot of people thought that he was taking number 7 and that he was booting Felipe Coutinho out, and then Cash was saying to me on a pod that apparently he's taken number 17 according to the official Barcelona Instagram account anyway.
Yeah, Coutinho, Barca, it's a strange one. I thought he was almost going to go in as sort of like into the central midfield, but they've played him out wide quite a bit. Not that I've watched a huge amount of Barcelona, but when I have seen him, so I don't know if he's got a future there really or not.
I agree. I thought he was going to go in and fill in that Xavi and Iniesta type role there, keep things taken over from midfield, play in a pocket just behind the front three, and thread those little balls through and try a few long distance shots and do all the things Felipe Coutinho does really well. And that seemed to be what we were all led to believe when he went there, and it just hasn't worked out for him. And do I feel sympathy for him? No. Would I take him back at Liverpool? Yeah, probably, because I'm a football fan and I'm a massive hypocrite. So I had seen, though, and this leads into the last thing I wanted to talk about, Anthony. I'd seen today that Neymar obviously wants to move back to Barcelona, and apparently Barcelona have offered, I think, 90 million quid plus two players from a list of six available to PSG. How this goes or who was on that list, I don't quite know.
I just, Neymar made such a big deal about leaving Barcelona to go back. I just can't stand the man, honestly. I just cannot stand him. And it's typically him that it hasn't gone how he wanted in PSG. Instead of sort of trying to stay and fight and win the Champions League there, he wants to go back to Barcelona.
He said he wanted to go basically step out of Messi's shadow, and he wanted to, be the big fish and go on and potentially win a Ballon d'Or. And then he goes there and gets kind of outshined by an 18-year-old kid in Mbappe. And now he looks like he's throwing his toys out with the pram again and wants to go back and be in Messi's shadow once again. And I'm with you. No doubt in the guy. He's got tremendous talent, but his attitude seems to absolutely stink.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen, he did an interview with, I don't know who it was with, and he was asked what his favourite goal he'd ever scored was. And he said it was the one that knocked PSG out of the Champions League when he was a Barcelona player, when he's still a PSG player. It's like, what?
Yeah, I did see that as well, and I just thought to myself, that is just two fingers to Paris Saint-Germain right there. And you know what, I'm not going to lie, I often moan about the money that maybe Manchester City and PSG owners are putting into the game, but I did think to myself for a while, I would love the owner of PSG to just go, you know what, fuck you, Neymar, we're going to stick you in the reserves for the rest of your contract, and I can afford to do it and I don't care, mate, best of luck. I would love to see that happen. Obviously it won't, but I'd love to see it happen.
I just despised him. The thing is, I really, when he came from Santos to Barcelona, I liked him then. I liked him in his first couple of years at Barcelona, but his ego's just grown and grown and grown, and I just find him unbearable now.
Now, if his goal was to make as much money as possible from the sport in the short career that he has between transfer moves and wages, then you know what? He's probably hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, he'll probably accept not moving to Barca and go back to go somewhere like China or something, knowing him. But
really interesting to see actually that he. How am I going to phrase this? Yeah, no, I'm trying to say it without getting myself into trouble here, so bear with me 1 second. I don't like Neymar, and I find it very hard to talk about him without shouting about him, and I really don't want to do that, so I'm probably best to just move on and not talk about him. But it is, I suppose, let's look at it from a Brazil perspective. He was injured and he wasn't available to play in the Copa America. And then Brazil go and win a tournament, which is something they haven't done in a while, and look like much more of a team without Neymar in it.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the clip of when he was training with Brazil. One of the young kids megged him, and all he did was he pushed him to the ground and stuff. And it's like, what? It's all about Neymar, isn't it? Not the team with him.
He is the epitome of a YouTube footballer. He's a modern day, pull clips of him up and see him doing all these fancy things, and it just, how can you walk up, mate, to collect a medal and go and punch a fan on your way up the stairs because you got a little bit of abuse?
Oh. It comes with the territory, doesn't it, of being a footballer? You just sort of, it shouldn't, but you just need to keep your head down and just accept it.
Yeah, if the window was to close, last question before we finish up, if the window was to close tomorrow, what signing do you think has been the best of any club, let's say in the Premier League? Who do you think has made the best one-off signing?
Youri Tielemans to Leicester.
I love a bit of being biased, mate. Love it. It was a good piece of business, and you're right, there were clubs circling around him, and I think from an outsider's perspective, we were all kind of hoping that Youri Tielemans did go to Leicester, and you seem to say that in his mind it was never in doubt, it was always the move that he wanted.
Yeah, from what I've read, he his agent was trying to push him towards United, and he said that he wanted to be at Leicester, which that's always what you want to hear, that a player wants to play for your club.
Yeah, absolutely. It really, really is. And yeah, I mean, sometimes people are saying it's just playing lip service, but in a situation like his where he definitely did have other opportunities, he obviously felt the love from the fans this season, enjoyed the style of football when Rodgers came in, and thinks that the club has a bright future ahead.
Yeah, and it's promising as well, the fact that like that there were the other teams circling around, and we like I know it took us a bit of a while to get it done, but once the transfers sort of started and stuff, we got it done quickly, and not letting it drag on like certain other clubs are doing with their transfers. So I'm glad that we got him in before pre-season, and he can sort of get the full pre-season under his belt, and I'm sure he'll benefit for it going into the season.
I love the little slide dig at Manchester United there, mate. I love it. Well in. More of that, please. We've got to leave it there. Time has beaten us, but look, as you can see, Anthony's a really, really nice guy. And if you like football content like me, and you like watching all types of clubs content, because I've got to be fair about it, we get a lovely cross section of fans that come in to watch Anfield Agenda, and I never expected this from day one. So please do me a massive favour, ladies and gents. Go over, check out Anthony's YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to him. And Anthony, have you anything coming up this season, or any new bits and pieces you want to let people know about?
Yeah, I'm doing the home and away match day vlogs again, previews, podcasts, and I'm trying to just keep consistent and keep grinding and doing what I'm doing, really.
Well, mate, I honestly, genuinely really enjoy our chats. I love when you pop into our channel as well, and I wish you and Leicester all the best this season, mate. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, cheers for having us on, mate.
No worries. And guys, don't forget, I'd love to hear your comments on what we've spoken about today. Please do put them in the section below. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and if you've enjoyed the stream, please do hit that subscribe button as well as going over to LCFC Boya's account and hitting that subscribe button. Thank you guys very much, and we'll talk to you soon.